Former President of India, late Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, had said, competition is powered by knowledge, knowledge is powered by technology, and technology is powered by innovation. And here lies the key to RAAIF's objective.
When I finished my bachelor's education in civil engineering, I had some time before I joined an organization. So I just reflected on what I learned as an undergraduate. I realized as a civil engineer, I hadn't even built a dwarf wall, not even a dwarf wall, as a civil engineering graduate from IIT Madras. It struck me that, how will I be a good civil engineer if I don't know even to build a dwarf wall, forget about wall that goes to the ceiling. It hurt me a lot. So I decided, okay, I'm going to go back, ask my professors, why is it that I'm not being taught this? And they said, okay, you want to stay for a longer time, you will learn more. So I actually stayed for another 6 months, which was a great learning experience. And from there it started my journey towards understanding what engineering meant. Several speakers here have already talked about so many things that the 21st century education should have. Sometimes it is a fortune to have come as a last speaker, because everything has been spoken, so I don't have to speak. So I'll end my speech, but then I'll do something else, which is I will let you realize what it is that should happen in 21st century with just 3 values that probably we should bring in. There are several things that I want to share, but those 3 values through activities we will learn. Are you ready? Yeah? Okay. I don't need this. Am I audible there? Yeah. As a teacher, I've learned to talk to a large class, so it's not a problem. So, I need somebody to help me out. This is just a sheet of paper. If you have already, no problem. But just distribute one each. It's not the content of the paper that you're looking at. Yeah, everyone. Yeah, just give.
You may need more.
No,
yeah.
Knowing through doing is the best way of learning. And I have adopted this time and again in my classes, and therefore I feel it is a successful learning experience. All I want you to do is I want you to make 4 holes as any pattern that you want to have. Holes. Tear it in such a way that you make 4 holes in the way that you like the best. Alright? Just 4 holes. It could be corner, it could be center, whatever it is. One request, after you tore off that piece of paper, you can put it in your pocket and go to the dustbin for the rest.
Can you use the pen for book?
Whatever you want to do. Whatever you want to do. Doesn't really matter. Okay. I want to just show to others what you have done. If you have already done. I don't know if somebody can, probably the camera will tell you later that no one design that you have made is the same as the other. You agree with me? Maybe more or less, but most of it. See, his design is different. His design is different. His design is also different. She has made a very nice circle. She must have been doing decorations at home all the time.
Makes cookies.
Right? So, cookies, yeah. So, I made something where I did something else. So, some of them poked. One of them made one small hole using a pen.
Only one hole.
Only one hole. And it became 4. Right? What we recognize here is no one individual is the same as the other. Education cannot be in a classroom like this. Probably information transfer could be, but not education. Education is personal. This realization has to occur among teachers. It is not possible for me to have a mass of students. Today I teach a large, about 300 students in a class. What can I teach? Right? Of course, I'll tell you about the patterns that we use, but it has to be student-centric, that we have come to our 21st century. Now, is it possible? The answer is yes, because the technology has advanced so much that it is possible. Every one of you have a mobile phone. The contents are very different from each other, right? And what you like, what you don't like is very clear from your mobile phone. And the technology is out there to communicate also. If I want to communicate to somebody, it is possible to communicate. Tomorrow's world is going to be very different. I'm going to have an assistant, not in this form, but a personal assistant who will be like a robot, walking along with me or attached to me, I don't know. But I'll be an extension of myself in terms of a robot. This is my belief tomorrow. And tomorrow is not very far away. You will not believe. The technological advancement is such that as senior student at IIT Madras, that is the final year student, is a generation gap apart from the fresher. The fresher will look at that fellow and laugh at him that he does not know. That's the speed at which we are going. So it is not possible for us to catch up on technology. As teachers, we should not be doing that, but we should be helping them learn by themselves. Tomorrow's world has to be self-learning with, I was telling Mr. Nathan about this, it has to be a little different. It has to be starting with, we had sage in the stage. Today it has to be coach in the court. We have to shift towards that kind of mode. If we shift to that kind of mode, we will make our citizens world-class citizens, and India will be number 1, perhaps in another 25 years. With whatever Mr. Job has said, the 1,000 days taken care of, right? So, first point I wanted to make is we have to proceed towards this challenge. It's a challenge today, but it will be an advantage tomorrow, which is education, which is personalized. And I believe it will happen. We have to be ready. Probably we may have to demolish this and make it into a circle so that people communicate between themselves to learn. Someone pointed out, I think Mr. Lawrence pointed out about this teacher standing and just saying 2 sentences. Go back home and Google a Harvard professor comes to the class, stands, and stands. Does not talk a single word, does not utter a single word. The first class is over, 45 minutes. Students were wondering, they go back. The second day, I think you must have watched that. Second day, the same thing happened. The third day, the students were wondering, what is this man doing? He's an accomplished person. He's coming and just standing there. And finally, one of the students stood up and said, is this why I'm giving you money? And there it started, the discussion. It so happened that he could moot the discussion without uttering a single word. So it is not going to be sage on the stage. It is going to be all in the stage that will happen tomorrow. Number 1. So we have to appreciate this change that will happen as teachers. Right? We are beginning to do it, but it is difficult for us to change because we are not looking at one generation. We are generations apart. Python, I know, is only a snake. And I learned Python recently, but it's only a snake. Are you ready for the second one? Yeah. That's also interesting.
Do we give this back?
No, keep it with you. Dustbin will absorb it. Yes. Take so to make it faster, I've just made the strips directly. I'll tell you what to do. Just 2 per person. Maybe that's enough.
1 into 2 per.
Okay, all of you have 1.
2, right?
I'm sorry. All of you have 2?
Yeah.
Okay. Keep 1 aside. Take the first one. I want you to fold this into 16 equal parts. Why this whole is 16? Doesn't matter right now. 16 parts. Many of you would have understood, oh, okay, it is divisible by 2, so I'll keep it half and half and half, so that it's possible for me to fold and fold to get 16. Yeah? Yeah? So fold once, it is 2. Fold twice, both sides, 4. Right? Many of you would have already done. Make it as accurate as possible. One way to do it is just fold. 4 times you fold. What if you fold 100 times? How many portions will I get? You can't fold it. In fact, one of our professors tried it. He could go to about 30 of them with all kinds of hardships. Right? The number of portions will be 2 raised to 30. Right? So, done? Done?
Extra of the paper would have been done, so not this.
Yeah. It's a very thin paper you try. Correct. Yeah, I agree with you. But that's about multiplication. If you want to talk about population, that's what you have to do. Done? 16 parts? Now take out your pen and mark those creases so that you have 16 marks on it. Now you've made a scale. Take a little bit more pain in marking nicely. Mark it. If you are game, make it 32. Okay. Those who are not done, raise your hand. Oh, all of you have done. Okay. If you have already done that, I have a challenge for you. The challenge is take any one of those things that you have. For example, this one or your letter pad or whatever. I want you to measure the length of that particular pad. If I told you that this piece is 16 inches long, forget about the inches right now, but 16 inches long. Alright? If I told you 16 inches long, and I want you to find out the length of anything, for example, I want to find out the breadth of this. I want it as accurate as possible. I'll give you 5 minutes. Is that okay? Yeah. If you want to go into more digitization, you can do it. If it is looks at it, yeah? Yeah? If you want it, you have this 16, no? Take the other sheet. There are 15 markings on this. Go till only 15 and cut off so that this is 15 inches. That's not difficult for you. Make the other piece 15 inches. Make the other piece 15 inches. Now I realize I had to be tall.
Sorry, I can't help you there.
Yeah. Probably you can get over me and I need to raise this so that I can write on the board. I'm so used to boards. Old man. Switch is there. Oh, I didn't realize it need not work also. It's not working.
There must be a switch somewhere.
Pull the board down.
Go. I tried it. Tried it. This
It's a mechanical device.
There could be a switch.
It's not a mechanical device. Not there?
There could be a switch.
That's not difficult for you. You just have to fold like what you did, but on the piece which is shorter now. Right? So the first piece is 16 inches long. The second piece is 15 inches long. Mark it. Because we want to understand the inventor's mind. Mark that also. Unless we understand the great minds and appreciate, we cannot understand the great minds that sit in the class. Done? Finished. Some are very fast, some are very slow, which is good. Done? Now he is calculating. Good. After you have done that, tell me if I put the ends together, if I match the ends together, which one of those markings, the two markings on the two scales, will coincide? You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
If we just put them aside, by the side like this, and match one of the ends, which one, the first one, which is the last, and the last. Supposing I move this a little bit, the second one, if I move this a little bit, by now many of them understand, there is no here, yeah? Move a little bit, if you are able to match the first one, how much have you moved? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I just move this so that the first one matches. What is the length you have moved? The distance you have moved? That's not very difficult. I made this into 16 parts, which means each one is 1 part, 1 inch, right? This also I made into 16 parts, which means this is not 1 inch, this is 15 by 16 inches, right? And therefore common denominator if I take, then 1 and 15 should match. But if I look at the difference between the first part, I mean one part of the first sheet and one part of the second sheet, the difference is now Eureka. Now I can slide one over the other so that I can measure to the accuracy of 1/16th of the inch. Yes or no? What do we call that scale? Slide rule.
What scale? Vernier scale?
Vernier scale. So who invented it?
Theory vernier.
Pierre Vernier. Who was he? He was a mathematician. Let me repeat. He was a mathematician. What he did was this. But remember, he applied. Mr. Lawrence was telling you about this. He applied to something. I'm going to tell you something more also, in such a way that it is possible for you to measure to a better accuracy. Yes or no? Vernier revolutionized measurement. I'm going to tell you why. The next, is it okay if I take? Perfect. Let me tell you something more. If I have to make, somebody said, I can't make so many divisions to make it more accurate. So the next person came and said, okay, if I have to measure more accurately, what should I do? Right? It will be very long. Vernier calculator will be very long. It is not possible for me to have such a long one and measure properly. Somebody came up with the idea, okay, make it helical.
Rotate.
Make it helical. One of the scales is helical, the other one moves in a way that you have, some of you may know what is called a worm gear. You just, when it screws up, the movement occurs, we call it a screw gauge. The vernier there is circular and the entire length has now become helical. It is possible for me to accommodate a lot more. Screw gauge could go into micro mm. This is where humankind is different. Job put it beautifully. This job also put it beautifully. But the other job also put it beautifully. Stay hungry and stay foolish. I want to go measure even lower than that. I want to be able to measure distance between two atoms. What shall I do? Right? So I am now going to a lower scale. What will I do? Then came one more discovery. And how many of you have learned music here? Okay. Supposing I have a sound, can I call this as a scale? The answer to a certain extent is yes, because there are peaks here, right? And these could be the markings for a wave. I'll take a wave, in this case sound wave, slightly change the wavelength, put them together, what will I get? Beats. And it's easy for me to, if you are a musician, I learned music for 3 years and I understood that I have no this thing for it. I had taste, but I couldn't play. But one important thing that I learned is how do you identify these beats? Musicians among you will be able to immediately identify a beat, right? It is possible to find out the beat when there is a small change in wavelength, which means that if I have two sources and I move a little bit, it is possible for me to measure to that sound wave level, right? Right? Okay. So I now could go into, let us say, waves which are megahertz. All right. Man is not satisfied; he wants more. So what shall I do? What shall I do? Fortunately, we have thinkers among us. They said, okay, if it is not sound, let's go to the other, which is light, which is electromagnetic waves. And I can go to a wavelength which is very, very, very small, which means I take a wave, I move this a little bit and find out what will I get? We get what is called interference pattern, right? Viola. The entire measurement industry prospered because today we have all kinds of interferometers that measure, that are making it possible for you to explore the nano world. Who made that change? One man who initiated it 1 year. Then incrementally it has happened. It's still continuing because man is hungry. He wants to go explore further, further, further. We have all those, what do you call them? Subparticles. Explore the subparticles. Cyclotrons. Want to find out, let's bang two very small particles and see if there is more particles created, and so on and so forth. Physics will continue to happen. 21st century? No. 30th century also it will happen. Exploration by humans will happen because he is hungry. You create the hunger in your students, you will see the prosper. Not just hunger, but remember, there is no such thing as foolishness. If somebody does something and you mock at that person, that means he is an inventor or she is an inventor. Because today we mock, but tomorrow it will become something that will be useful for the society. Okay? That's the second thing, which is appreciation of talent. Right? Am I a teacher who can identify the students' talents? As I said in the first one, varied, number one. Number two, can I identify who? Why identify? Mr. Nathan and Mr. Lawrence told, tomorrow's world has to be such that one single talent will not help an organization. I need to have people coming together, right? With both SQs available, by the way. Not only social quotient, but also spiritual quotient. Both should be available so that it is possible for the 21st century education to become meaningful tomorrow. One last message I just want to give, which I find something that could probably make it better for our students, and therefore we'll do one more exercise and I stop.
Sure.
All right. I've been telling this to everybody that visits me. Tomorrow's India should see more and more becoming good communicators. That's something touched upon by some of the speakers. Do you know the first thing that you have to do to be a good communicator?
Read newspapers.
Listen.
I'll tell you what it is,
Listen.
and you will realize it. Ready? Yeah? Yeah? Close your eyes. Close your eyes. Relax. Don't doze off. Relax. I want you to listen to each one of those sounds that occur here. Focus on each one of those sounds. Linger with that sound for some time. Move to another sound. See the beauty in those sounds that you hear. Do it with sincerity. The sound of AC, the clicking sound. You will even hear your breathing. Open your eyes. They were saying ancient doctors used to be able to find out about your health from Nadi. It is because they were able to listen to those minute changes, right? If you have to be a great communicator, the first thing that we have to learn is to be able to listen, whether it is active listening, passive listening, or empathic listening, because empathic listening is the one single factor that will help our students to be able to identify problems. The moment I identify problems, when the problem lingers in my mind, naturally I become a problem solver. Thanks for the opportunity.
Professor, one thing on language not the barrier. Please.
For listening, is language the barrier? I don't know if you watched this particular movie where the guy lands in a place where it is fully American Indians. They don't know the language, right? I don't remember the name of that particular movie, where this guy comes and he has to communicate, right? So he uses all kinds of things to communicate. It took less than 2 days in order to be able to communicate much better way. Language of the communicator is firstly the ears. That's why God has given 2 ears here, only one mouth. Thank you.
Thank you.